Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. London has been having a very pleasant month, but they had 2 hot days last week. The heat didn't last very long and was caused by an unusual weather pattern which brought hot air from the Sahara across the narrowest section of the English Channel. Because the hot air didn't cross a lot of water, it didn't cool down very much, and England had record temperatures. Quite predictably, the BBC took advantage of this weather event to promote their non-stop fear-mongering about low-cost, reliable energy. They said that hot weather coming from the Sahara was basically impossible without the burning of fossil fuel. I'm pretty sure that during summer there's always a lot of hot air available in the Sahara. And if the wind is blowing the right direction, the hot air is going to come to the United Kingdom. The BBC's fear-mongering doesn't make any sense, but it's what the BBC does day after day. I made a couple videos and blog posts calling the BBC out for their nonsense. And this may have upset them because they wrote an article a couple days ago complaining about unprecedented trolling. When the BBC gets criticized, they call it abuse. BBC meteorologist Matt Taylor said he never experienced anything like it in nearly 25 years working in weather. The Royal Meteorological Society condemned the trolling. Most of the abuse seems to have been prompted as links were made between the heat wave and climate change. Met Office lead meteorologist Alex Deakin said it's scary in some ways, adding, "I find it more frustrating and offensive from my colleagues, some of the great minds in climate science. Show a bit of respect and do a bit more research rather than just believe Bob down at the pub or Tony on YouTube." So basically, he declared his friends to be some of the great minds in climate science and made an appeal to authorities saying you can't question them. No attempt was made by the BBC or the Met Office to address the criticisms which were being leveled at them. They just wrote it off as abuse and made an appeal to their own imagined authority. But if these people were actually experts, they would have known that 2 days of hot weather is not a heat wave at all. According to the World Meteorological Organization, hot weather has to last for 5 or more consecutive days in order to be categorized as a heat wave. Last week's hot weather only had 2 or 3 consecutive hot days, so it wasn't a heat wave at all. The great American physicist Richard Feynman said, "Have no respect whatsoever for authority. Forget who said it, and instead look what he starts with, where he ends up, and ask yourself, is it reasonable?" The BBC wants to name heat waves which aren't even heat waves. They're promoting a lot of fake news. During the summer of 1976, the United Kingdom had an actual heat wave near the peak of the 1970s global cooling scare. Heathrow had 16 consecutive days where they averaged over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is unprecedented for England. They had another heat wave in 2003, with Heathrow recording 8 consecutive hot days, peaking at 100 degrees on August 10th. I was at the beach at Christchurch along England's southern coast a couple days before the heat wave started. It was extremely cold and almost too cold to go in the water. Like this year's hot weather, it had nothing to do with the burning of fossil fuels. I remember a time when the BBC was able to differentiate between news and comedy. In 1970, I was watching the BBC 9 o'clock news when they came on with this astonishing weather forecast.
You want to know how it'll be? I'll tell you. The heavens will open up and blood will come raining down. And there'll be plagues of frogs and locusts. And the earth will crack and the seas will boil over. And nameless abominations will come forth crawling from the slimy depths. There'll be storms, there'll be sleet, and fire will engulf the whole earth.
The rest of the night will be fine, except for after...
That was the first time I ever heard Marty Feldman, and I don't think I'd ever laughed that hard. 50 years ago, it was still possible to take BBC News seriously. Unfortunately, those days are long gone. Toto has been pulling back the curtain on fake news for the past 14 years. You can visit him, Kyrie Caesar, Toki and Upala on the web at realclimatescience.com.